Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, sustainable urban transport. Well, UNDP has been doing a significant amount of work in the area of sustainable urban transport, particularly inclusive sustainable urban transport. And I had, called Dr. Jalan to request me to give me time to speak on renewable energy. We do insurmountable amount of work in the area of renewable energy, and I've been working in this area for the last 24 years. It is not renewable energy. We want to speak renewable transport. So by default, I'm here talking to you on sustainable transport. And amongst the areas of energy efficiency, as my earlier speakers have said, this is one area where it's a low-hanging fruit and results can be achieved without too much of investment, unlike solar, unlike wind. And one thing that I've been attending so many sessions here, and one thing that has came up very strongly is awareness and knowledge sharing. In fact, a few days ago, we were meeting the National E-Governance Division in the Ministry of IT to discuss how UNDP could be involved in bringing their platform of solution exchange to the Government of India for knowledge sharing. I look after the climate change community of practice at UNDP, where we share knowledge with 3,000 members, who are mostly practitioners, experts, NGOs, practitioners who are working in the field, academicians, industry, and so on. We have a network of European practitioners in India with over 35,000 subscriptions. This particular initiative was initiated by the UN in 2005 with 13 online communities, and we have generated more than 2,500 publications. It is part of the UN Development Action Framework to support the Government of India. This is the only country in the world where we have to change the name of UNDA from United Nations Development Assistance Framework to Action Framework. Because the Government of India felt we do not require any assistance from the UN, we require action. So we change the name of UNDA. We leverage the convening power, international reach, and immense development experience of the UN. The climate change community was launched in July 2009. I personally launched it, and the membership now is over 3,000. These are some of the communities that are presently running. Climate change is the youngest. This model was so successful that it has been replicated in many parts of the world, in the Pacific Islands, in the Philippines, in Bhutan, in Bangladesh, in Afghanistan. These are some of the services we provide. Query service, discussion. In fact, I ran a full-fledged query on urban green mobility in 2010. And I'll talk about that, the findings that we got from that. E-consultation and action groups. Right now, we are working on 2 action groups. One is on sustainable campuses, carbon neutral sustainable campuses. And the second is on simple solutions to tackle the challenges of climate change. This is how it works. The query service, members send to the community a query requesting for help. Community offers solutions. They suggest various things. And then we consolidate all the responses we get along with our own research and come up with a consolidated reply for posterity's sake. As a part of the Commonwealth Games 2010, I was a co-author of a booklet called Low Carbon Lifestyles Toolkit. And some of the areas related to transportation, which would lead to sustainable transportation, are very simple. Take a bus to school. We have children who take a bus to school rather than being driven in a car. And you save 7,000 rupees by just doing that. Share a car. Any small car that goes off the road, if you share carpooling, you save 30,000 rupees per year. What is sustainable urban transport? Cities should respect nature, consider the urban ecological environment as an asset, integrate environmental issues into urban planning and administration, and accelerate the transition to sustainable development. You know, when I read about sustainable development, you look at the Brundtland Commission, but are we aware that India coined sustainable development long before the Brundtland Commission? Deen Dayal Upadhyay in 1965 spoke about integral humanism, doing more with less, and coined in many, many ways a far more inclusive definition of sustainable development. We should promote the use of renewable energy sources and build low-carbon eco-cities. We should strongly advocate for conservation of resources and promote environment-friendly manufacturing. Cities and their citizens should join together to create sustainable lifestyles. Change of attitude, change of mindset is all that is required to have sustainable transport systems. And an ecological civilization in which people and the environment coexist in harmony. Delhi is one of the few cities in this country which has a littering fine. Can anybody in the audience tell me what is a littering fine in Delhi? Anybody? We don't even know what is a fine. This is the state of implementation. 500 rupees. You will be fined if you litter in the streets of Delhi. However, nobody has been fined so far. These are some of the responses I got from my members. 30% of India's population lives in cities. It will go to 50% in another 15 years. Our cities are not able to cope with the current level of population. When it goes to 50% in 2013, when our population would rise to about 1.5 billion, we'll have 750 million Indians living in cities, which is a very tall order. More than double of what we are having today. Metro rail. Delhi Metro Rail has been immensely successful. Today it's carrying close to 3 million people. Bus rapid transport system, BRTL, not successful in Delhi because it was not planned properly. Immensely successful in other cities like in Ahmedabad. Monorail project. It's already under construction. Kolkata is under construction. I've already spoken about the BRT system. The conventional road planning moves around constructing flyovers, underpasses and widening of roads. This doesn't work. I was in Guangzhou a few weeks ago. You know, when I go in Delhi, you go over the flyover, immediately below the flyover there is a traffic jam. When I was in Guangzhou, the flyover was for 30 kilometers. You almost cross the entire city into the flyover. Majority of the people travel by public transport. Please note that in Delhi, 80% of the people use public transport. Bicycle or on foot. I mean, many Western countries where I have visited, Denmark, Holland, they have wonderful cycle systems. In India, it's not possible. You know, once I was at the institute where I studied, IIT Delhi, and I was discussing with the director, sir, you have a great time, you want to cycle inside the campus. Why don't you take to cycle outside the campus? He said, Ramesh, how can I dare do that? I said, why? I said, I'll get killed. I mean, the roads of Delhi are not suitable for cars, let alone for cycles. We don't have have the culture. Better transport planning that factors public transport system, pedestrian and bicycle users is essential. To improve mobility. You know, when I talk of urban mobility, it is not mobility, it is being stationary or mobile. You can spend hours in traffic in Delhi. Access to destination is not a constraint in smaller cities. Lack of public transport traffic management system compounds the problem and affects mobility. Overcrowding in public transport. This dissuades people from taking buses. People tend to use private vehicles due to the perception that public transport is much slower and unsafe. You know, I was in UK for several weeks. I never took a taxi or anything. I was always going by the tube. We need to change our mindsets. How do we tackle urban mobility? Delhi has done, increasing the number and frequency of low-flow buses, traffic management and breakdown service lanes, higher penalties for not following traffic rules. I mean, tell me, how many of us have broken traffic rules and paid the bribe and gotten away with it? Almost everybody. First of all, we should not break the rules. You know, sometimes when I go for a walk early in the morning, I drive to Singapore, and on the way there are many traffic lights, and I stop on all of them at 5:30 in the morning. So my wife says, you're a stupid man. I am following the rules, nobody is looking. The rules have to be followed, whether somebody is looking or not. Dedicated lanes for heavier, slower moving and lighter vehicles. Use of funds like the Delhi Air Ambulance Fund and Delhi Urban Transport Fund to promote sustainable public transport and battery operated vehicles. Sustainable urban transport requires a comprehensive multi-sectoral approach. Some of the main strategies and possible policy options that city authorities might consider are given below. They were derived from the recommendations from the Bangkok 2020 Declaration agreed upon in August 2010. I'll not go into all the policy options. I'll leave them with the organizers so that they can supplement to the government. I'll just briefly mention the strategy. Strategy 1, avoid unnecessary travel and reduce trip distance. How many times do we travel when we think it is absolutely essential? Many times we just travel for the sake of traveling. The driver is sitting, let's go. We need to be very careful about travel. All the policy options are here, and these are very, very important policy options which the government of India needs to consider. Shift towards more sustainable modes of transport. You know, what is the biggest problem in Delhi or in any of our cities? We have residential areas in one part of the city, commercial areas in another part of the city. People have to compulsorily go residences to the office. If we go in for mixed-use planning, where we allow commercial spaces to coexist with residential areas, not within residential areas, adjacent to residential areas. We can have walkable cities. Improve transport practices and technologies. Some of the technologies have already been explained. Biofuels. Biofuels are very important. However, we just need to see how we are going to go through biofuels in a country like India when we have shortage of food. People first policy with a focus to protect people. I mean, the number of accidents. More Indians die on the roads than they die in all the wars that India has ever fought. And many of the accidents are due to human failure, due to our own careless attitude. Number of options are there. I don't want to get into them. For the sake of completeness, I have printed them here. This is a project we are presently doing at UNDP with the Global Environment Facility, the Ministry of Urban Transport, Urban Development, sorry, World Bank. Achieving sustainable urban transport has become a primary objective with the adoption of the National Urban Transport Policy. We have a National Urban Transport Policy. To foster a long-term partnership between the Government of India and state and local governments in the implementation of green environment under the ambit of the NUTP, Government of India has initiated this project. Efforts to reduce or contain environmental risks form an important component of this project. What is environmental risk? Climate change, CO2. Why do you think our monsoon are shifting? Why do you think we are not getting enough rainfall in Delhi? Delhi has more cars in this city than all the metros put together. The CO2 is forming a blanket, and whether we like it or not, the blanket is not allowing the rain to fall. As you all know, class 5 science, when the air becomes warmer, it becomes lighter. It absorbs moisture, it tries to become heavy, but by the time it drifts. And when it drifts, the moisture goes away, you get no rain. As simple as that. And when I was a kid, I remember our family was quite big, we used to have one car. Now, if you have a family of 4, you have 6 cars. Why? We need to get into the habit of sustainable consumption and production. It's very, very important. This particular project is supporting the design and delivery of innovative sustainable urban transport system in 5 demonstration cities. And I will, in the next slide, present before you the case study of Mysore, where we have achieved, results that were not, we didn't even imagine when we began this project that we will achieve. The impact analysis considered the following GHG emissions. Reduced potential of ITS. ITS is what? Intelligent Transport System. GHG emissions due to electricity consumption by this system was also considered when we did this analysis. Mode shift impact from the public information system to the ITS system. Route rationalization. Routes are not rationalized. Buses going any route they feel like. They should try to take the shortest route. Potential of better driving training. Drivers are not trained properly. And this is generated in our intelligent transport system. ITS implementation is found to increase the bus modal share by 12.4%. 12.4% increase we have found people using buses. In the year 2036 this would happen. GHG emissions would go down by 102,000 between 2016 to 2025, and they would almost triple in the next 10 years to almost 300,000 tons. This is just one city. In Delhi, these figures would be maybe 10 times higher. The savings, life cycle analysis. Whenever we do emissions analysis, we should do a life cycle analysis. And we need to promote this life cycle costing, create awareness among the masses, and communicate the value proposition of life cycle analysis for sustainable transport. Many times people tell me there are no emissions from solar. When you do the life cycle analysis, you do find emissions from solar. The solar panels have to be transported, they have to be manufactured, they need energy, there are problems of disposal of the solar panel. So, believe me, there are no free lunches. Everything has its pros and cons. Academic research organizations need to develop a standard methodology, a detailed LCA inventory, and promote the wider uptake of such practices for evolving a sustainable transport paradigm. We need to have a proper paradigm system. And there is limited capacity for conducting LCA for for sustainable transport, it is imperative to organize skill upgradation. I think skill upgradation is the need of our Prime Minister talks about it almost every day. Financial industry for conducting LCA are also required. It is crucial to develop reference life cycle data systems pertaining to Indian conditions for accurate life cycle analysis. Friends, I would like to end. This is a very peculiar slide. Part of it is in green, part of it is in blue. And there is a reason for it. The blue comes from the members of the climate change community, and blue being the color of the UN, I chose to write them in blue. Green comes from the public at large. Lifestyle changes contribute to reduction in fuel cost, energy cost, conservation of water and other natural resources for involving a sustainable transport paradigm. LCA can encourage low carbon lifestyle by providing accurate and reliable information on sustainable transport. Organizations need to promote low carbon lifestyle to ensure sustainable transport. I'm emphasizing low carbon lifestyle, believe me. Yesterday, I sent a report to our members. Anybody has heard of the concept called the Earth Overshoot Day? Anybody has heard the concept of Earth Overshoot Day? This is a day where the annual resources of the Earth are utilized much before that they should be. August 19 was the Earth Overshoot Day for 2014. This means that resources that we should have utilized till December 31st, we've already utilized all of them by August 19. These are all negative. We are using resources which were meant for our future generation. You know, 10, 15 years ago, India used to have its global environment footprint as about 0.63. Any guess what it is today? I mean 0.63 of the Earth. Today it is 1.9. China is 2.2. Japan is 7. And so on and so on. America is 9. Means if everybody of us wanted to live like an American, we would need 9 Earths to do that. The goal of climate change mitigation can be achieved with substantial benefit for conservation of natural resources, energy, and also money, clearly demonstrating what is good for ecology is also good for economics. Monetary savings could definitely be a driver to adopt low carbon lifestyles and sustainable transport. Mixed land use, I already spoke about this in planning of new towns and cities. All future planners should consider providing shopping, financial, and recreation services locally instead of creating separate commercial, residential, and recreational areas, thus preventing unnecessary travel. To improve walkability, town centers, schools need to be located within walking distance. It is imperative, therefore, to promote integrated urban planning along with efficient public transport in all cities to improve urban mobility and create inclusive, sustainable urban